China's leader Xi Jinping has said in the past that great danger and great opportunity often go hand in hand. That danger and that opportunity arrived for him this past week. There has been a complete upheaval at the very top of China's military high command, leaving a void that Xi Jinping now has to fill with a new generation of handpicked loyalists. The purging of China's top general Zhang Youxia last week was a stunning display of Xi Jinping's autocratic dominance over the military, which of course is the ultimate source of power for all Chinese leaders. But the entire hollowing out of the People's Liberation Army's leadership, top leadership, also complicates Xi Jinping's long-standing ambition to bring Taiwan under Beijing's control. A pressing concern for Xi Jinping will be how these upheavals in the military top brass will affect his 2027 deadline, which he has set for modernizing the military. Now, modernizing the military is just code for saying that he wants the Chinese army to finish the reunification of Taiwan by 2027, by force if need be. Xi's swift ouster of General Zhang, as well as another senior commander named General Liu Chunli, who have both been accused of grave violations of discipline and law, follows the detention or disappearance of dozens of generals in China in recent years. The Central Military Commission now has only one general left. In 2022, Xi Jinping had appointed 7 of them. These repeated major upheavals and reshuffles or mass purges of senior military commanders over these past 2 or 3 years have temporarily reduced China's ability and the Chinese Communist Party's ability to launch a major war over Taiwan. But this could go 2 ways. Either Xi Jinping will become an increasingly isolated figure, like an emperor confined deep within his palace, or Xi Jinping now has a carte blanche to choose a new cohort of commanders who he trusts will attack Taiwan. He tried incremental reforms while largely trusting the PLA to manage its affairs, but by sometime last year he concluded that that approach had failed. The PLA top ranks needed to be changed lock, stock and barrel. So something entirely new is now coming in the new year. But here's the hitch. Xi Jinping will probably need years to nurture a new generation of officers who he can trust. So the resulting delay and disruption could set back Xi Jinping's military goals and sap his confidence that Chinese army has the ability to subjugate Taiwan. Already the turmoil appears to be slowing down the military's momentum. Some public exercises that take place every year seem to have been postponed. The Chinese leader may also become more hesitant, not more belligerent when it comes to Taiwan, given the limitations of the top brass of the army. The vacancies at the top of the military command present the Chinese leader with a choice that could shape the prospects for a major war over Taiwan in the next few years. He's likely to choose his new core of military leaders from officers who were born in the 1970s. That is 20 years younger than Xi Jinping. Which officers he promotes and how much he trusts them could define China's power projection in the Indo-Pacific for years to come. General Zhang was from Xi Jinping's generation. Both were particularly close. Both men were sons of Revolutionary Army commanders who had fought alongside the legendary Mao Zedong. Xi promoted General Zhang, making him an ally in his efforts to clean up and remake the military into a modern-day fighting force. He kept him on as vice chairman of the Central Military Commission in 2022, even past his retirement age. And then he promoted him to be China's senior-most full-time commander. What prompted Xi Jinping to move against these 2 generals is still unclear. An editorial in the Chinese military's newspaper over the weekend indicated that they were accused of corruption and of undermining Xi's authority. Now, such wording suggests there was a rupture between Xi Jinping and General Zhang, and it could have involved disagreements or friction over how to implement Xi's goal of annexing Taiwan. General Zhang oversaw operations as senior vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. He was the last of the generals who had actually taken part in an actual war in the late 1970s between China and Vietnam. General Liu, on the other side, was the commander of the Joint Staff Department. He was heavily involved in the planning for exercises and operations. Their simultaneous downfall, both the generals being brought down at the same time on identical charges, suggests that Xi Jinping may have seen them as acting in cahoots against him. In Xi Jinping's inner circle, small slights can become big ones. But it's not just at the very top of the Central Military Commission, it's also down the ranks. China has had at least 30 generals and admirals at the start of 2023 who ran specialized departments and theater commands. Now, nearly all of them have been expelled or disappeared during Xi Jinping's sweeping purge, except 5. 25 others have either vanished or have been punished. In some cases, Xi Jinping appointed new generals as replacements, about a dozen of them, but even then, more than half of the top in the Central Military Commission and in the various theater commands and the top decision-making bodies of the Chinese military, half of those posts are still vacant. A review by Chinese media outlets seemed to suggest only 7 generals appear to be remaining in active roles. Xi Jinping may have already begun his efforts to build a new generation of generals who are untainted by the failings of their predecessors. In December, he appointed new commanders to 2 new theaters, including the Eastern Theater Command, which oversees operations around Taiwan. Just a week after the appointments, the Eastern Theater Command held 2 days of massive exercises around Taiwan. Xi Jinping wants to demonstrate that despite all the chaos in the military high command, it would be a mistake to think that the People's Liberation Army cannot fight wars. Taiwan will bear proof of it whichever way it goes.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.